Hey, how's it going there, YouTube? Leonard here, backing out with another deck profile for you all. Here with my buddy Chris. He's going to show you guys his amazing Perdition deck. Take it away, Chris.
Alright guys, so what we're looking at here is a Dragonoot deck.
Alright.
I've been working on this for about a year, give or take, with the format constantly shifting and all that. We all know if you're not playing the X, it's really difficult these days. As you can tell, I take a lot of pride in this, given the simple fact that I run multiple Legionnaires. Anyway, after all of that, I've come to terms that I've realized that Pain Laser proves to be a viable choice, mostly because you're going to run Menace Laser Dragon as a card to handle the counter rush, but also it provides you openings. I'll explain that in a little bit once I go down to the lower grades. For the most part, running Breakdown Dragon is also really nice, but you're going to have to support it somehow, simply because that cost is so high.
Alright.
So your main focus is get into Pain Laser first. Can't do it, that's fine, or if it's better not to, that's fine too. But his secondary ability here, where you Soul Blast 1 on his attack and give it an extra 3k power, really gives you that edge early on. If your opponent's still on grade 2, you're swinging for 14k, which immediately makes it a 10k block. Against the Twin Drive, chances are they won't guard it. If they do, they're going to waste some hand, which is the name of the game with this deck. This design is designed to kill your opponent's hand as quick as you can. You want to limit their resources before they can get them on the board. If they get them on the board, you make sure you get rid of them. But you want to be careful because there's a lot of cards that you just don't matter. Learning that is also important. Perdition doesn't have the support every other part of Kagero does, hence Overlord, especially with the new Legend deck coming. So you need to make up for it in other ways. Dragonoot is your primary engine for killing your opponent. With his ability to do a point of damage that's nullified, plus killing 2 rear guards, plus the ability of gaining power when he does, really makes it a hell of a column at 26,000.
Alright.
Equivalent to a stride without actually discarding 4 stride.
Sweet.
Anyway, let's go down to grade 2s.
Alright, just quick thing real quick. When people see Perdition, they normally see a lot of people playing Dragonic.
Yes.
Would you recommend playing him, or is Pain Laser definitely a tech that you see most fit in this deck?
For me, the way I play it, Pain Laser works really nicely.
Alright.
I run 1 Neo Flame, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But the way I've designed it, I don't really have the hand advantage necessary to support that discard cost. I did run it for a while when I was running 6 grade 3s. Right now I run 7. I run a grade 3 Searcher. I love it. I swear by it. The thing about running 7 grade 3s is you get that extra slot for something else.
Alright.
Be it just 1 extra technical card or 1 extra of something else. It really makes that difference. For a while, in that slot, you could run anything from a Conroe to anything else you want. Some of us like Conroe at my level. Anyway, we're ready to move on.
Yes.
So we'll go figure this out. And we'll go to the grade 2 lineup. Now obviously you're going to run Perdition Dragon, Whirlwind Dragon for Dragonoot.
Yes, all
Now,
the Legion rare.
My buddy told me about you guys asking about the 10k vanilla. In my locals we had an issue with Ripple.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
We had a very big issue with Ripple, so that was a thing. Whirlwind Dragon, besides being Dragonoot's bullets, it's also a 12k attack, which a couple of my techs later on you'll see, it really works well in making those 16k columns, because I run a lot of 4k triggers. Yes, I call triggers to the board. I've killed someone with an Art Peak before. So, the 10k vanillas, they also work really well with one of my grade 1s, making a 16k column base that just gets bigger and bigger every time you kill someone. Menace Laser Dragon, almost a staple in a Perdition deck in my opinion. For a Counterblast 1, if you have a Perdition Vanguard, you kill a unit in his column. Really great for sniping units. Also, if you don't really care about having a Vanguard booster, you can snipe someone's starter even if it's behind their Vanguard. So there's that. Neo Flame, I'm playing around with this guy. I like him and I don't. I like him because of the fact that you can just attack the rear guard in his column with him, and he'll kill the unit behind him if you kill the rear guard. But on the same note, I don't like him because that ability is only good for a turn, so it's kind of a stability issue. I like him at 1. Honestly, I want to make him another Menace Laser, but me being the bit of a rarity whore I can be, I want to get another SP. Working on it. But honestly, if you like Neo Flame, run him. If you don't, don't. You don't need to run 4 10k vanillas. I do though, because they make for a quick kill on the rear guard. I'd rather attack someone's rear guards than use my skills, because my cost is so high. I don't run an unflip engine, not a stable. So, any questions?
Well, that's pretty much it. It looks pretty solid, Iron. You gave a good brief explanation about the 10K vanillas, and yes, definitely ripples were a thing. And now with the new ban list, with those with the limitation of Odysseus, that's definitely going to help you there.
It's going to help me out, but it also gives me stability. Now, onto the grade ones.
All right.
We were talking about 10Ks. Well, I'm running 10K attackers.
All right. This is also something that I thought was pretty interesting tech when I played you, because I never see anybody playing the 10K attack in grade 1s, because normally they have room for other support, such as unflips or...
Yeah. Like I said, I actually don't run any unflipping units except for one of my triggers, which I'll show you in a little bit.
Bari, good old OG Bari. All right.
Yep. One Lava Flow Dragon, simply because I'm down one grade 3. Actually, hold on. There is a second one in here. Even me, I don't even pay attention to my own deck. I run 2 Gyokuru, which again, as you can tell, it is a 6K. So behind that 10K vanilla or behind the 10K attackers, it's a 16K column at all times. And when you kill a unit, it goes 21 or higher. Very easy.
Sweet.
I run 1 promo Lizard Soldier Belloc, as we all know. We've been playing. I've seen people all over the country playing around with this card. You have something to say?
No. This is a pretty solid card. It's nice that you're able to retire even all along your opponent's turn.
Yep, as long as it's rested, which can stop Nova Grappler, which are coming back. It doesn't really mess with Spike Brothers too much because they send everything back to deck no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But it gives us that ability to stop something.
True.
That next stage turn when they're setting up a booster, and they boost with it, you hit it with this. You got that time leap ability. You can kill those rested units before they leap on it, and it'll really mess them up. You kill a Chrono Drain, you kill anything.
All right.
Then, a 2 of Calamity Tower Wiper.
Definitely
like I said,
a staple.
I'm not running any unflip, as you can tell here. I don't use my soul damage. Only 2 cards in my deck Soul Blast. So, why not? If I get a unit spun by a Chrono Jet, sure. If these get spun by a Chrono Jet, awesome, they're back in my deck. If they get let down by a grade, if I have a grade 2 on the board and I need to draw cards during my opponent's turn, drop this out of my deck during their turn and draw a card, and get things out of Soul and Legion it all back next turn. Which, on top of that Soul Blast 2 really assists the Legion. That way, if you have to ride things you don't want to ride, they're in the drop zone, ready to go. Of course, with the new Narukami support, you got to be careful with that. They're going to bind your units. There's not much you can do about that. It's going to hurt Legion, but what are you going to do?
Definitely.
Now, any questions?
Yes, just one quick question. If you were to remove these 10K attackers, because I know many people would probably ask, well, would you play in place of these? What would you recommend?
Well, in my opinion, I'd increase Gyokuru to 3 and turn these into 2 more Stride Enablers.
All right.
Solely for stability purposes. Outside of that, the Stride Enablers themselves are 7K vanillas outside of their own skill. And if I decide to play Blade Master at all, which I was considering it as a one of, there's that. But if you're running Blade Master, you need to focus the deck around him.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
That's pretty much it, man. It looks great.
All right, now, the trigger lineup. I'll show you the G-Zone in a little bit. The G-Zone itself is very dynamic right now. I have a a regional coming up on this Saturday, actually. So I'm preparing for that. So again, my G-Zone's about to change. Now, of course, for the starter, you have Red Pulse Draco Kid.
Of course.
Very wonderful grade 0. I swear by it. We have people running the unit that responds to a retired unit. In my build, I don't like it. I like being able to control how much I retire. I don't really enjoy it. This guy makes sure I get copies of Dragonute or Pain Laser. It utilizes a counterblast. It sets me up for an early heal trigger without wasting damage. It fills my soul. I love it. I love it. There's nothing else I'd rather run. Unless Conroe. And even then, Conroe's nice, but he doesn't get me a grade 3, which I sometimes need more.
That's true.
And of course, if you haven't used him yet, and you're in that turn where you're going to kill your opponent if you just have one more attack, and you get that grade 3 out of the deck, drop that bitch on board, and you get yourself an 11K attacker on the field.
Yeah.
Which never hurts. So, now, me, I'm preferential to my Seal Dragon, so you're going to see a lot of that. 4 heals, as always. Then I do 5 draw. Normally I would do 6. I run 2 Arc Peak, 3 Gatling Claw.
All right.
Quicker retire.
Yes.
In the place of the 6th draw, I run a single Lizard Soldier Vieira.
All right.
What's great about him is a quick combo tip. You can trigger him off of Bellow. So if you retire your opponent's unit during their turn, and he's on the field, you just turned your Vanguard into a 21,000 power Vanguard during your opponent's turn until the end of their turn. So you kill one of their units, you immediately go up to 21,000. It makes it so much easier to guard, as we've learned from Angel Feather.
Yes, definitely.
Now, on the triggers, my crit triggers are all technical. So that's the interesting part. Technical crits, when did we learn about that? I run 4 of the Blade Master triggers. That's
Okay.
a future tech for when the Blade Master Stride comes out. By name alone, you can use these to make a bigger Vanguard, draw some cards, and swing in harder. Even if the skill can't be used, this allows you to be able to make use of the power game. And as we all know, if you're not running Overlords at all, we don't have a solid in-gamer. We have a couple of them that just came out, but we could do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Now, because of one of my strides, like I said, we have a in-gamer, it's not solid, but we have one. I run 2 of the Seal Dragon critical. One of my only ways to unflip in this deck.
Okay.
As long as you have a Seal Dragon Vanguard, when that unit is placed on your rear guard, you unflip a damage for each grade 2 your opponent has. Now
All
you're
right.
gonna ask, how do you get a Seal Dragon Vanguard in a Perdition deck, huh? We'll explain that in a minute. Any questions?
No, this looks great. Now, actually, one thing. For this stand, have you ever thought of playing more than one, if not any of these at all?
The reason I've tried playing without it, and I've tried playing 2. The reason I play with 1 instead of either of those is that 2, you're not really playing as many rear guards, so you don't want to rely on the stand trigger.
Okay.
In this build, the way I play it, you might island on the Vanguard, or you might play 2 rear guards. If you get multiple 12k attackers in hand, you got enough going on. You can afford it. If you play Calamity Tower, your opponent's sitting at a 5k Vanguard, or they rode Laurel and Deep Police because of bad situations,
Yeah.
you can drop it, you can go in, you can hit a stand trigger, you can really do some damage. But he's in there for his effect. He's in there, and also response to witches with their current resurgence in Shadow Paladin. He gives you a target to call that'll really mess him up.
All right.
Because you call it right out of the deck, oh, you're out the stand trigger, you don't play like you have stand triggers anymore. And then he's on the board, you don't have to call it from hand, you trigger his skill, you send him right back to deck. And then you gain that power and you go nuts.
All
Our
right.
peak fuels the soul, 3k, you can really do some damage. Now, on that, actually, remember my 12k attackers? You target them with this ability, they become 15k. You throw Gyokuru behind it, you now have a 21k column without any extra effects. You retire any units, that column starts jumping. I think my most effective turn was Whirlwind Dragon exceeded 40,000 in one turn.
Jesus.
It did a lot of damage, but it required a lot of resources. Now, let's go ahead and move into the G-Zone.
All right.
So, as we all know, a little under a year ago, we just recently got Strides.
Yes.
Now, Strides and kagero are hit or miss. They all pretty much do the same thing. They retire units. So, in this build, I have a technical of 2 cards. So I'm running for unflip capability for Mustafa.
Yes.
I love him. I trust him. He's always stood by me. That Counterblast 1 for 1 retire and then unflip capability is amazing.
Keep in mind the amazing Sriracha sleeves. Spicy, spicy.
Now, most of you will probably ask, how many Root Flare do you run? I run 2. That's it.
Oh, that's surprising. Only 2 root flare. All
Root
right.
Flare, 90% of the time, my opponents will not play down whole columns because of Pain Laser. I've learned this. So Root Flare's job is take him out, if so be. But honestly, he's just to be flipped for another card. With our recent Cross Origin release, now you're gonna ask, I don't have a Seal Dragon Vanguard. How can I use Cross Origin? Well, he's a response. If my opponent decides to drop 2 grade 2s on the field, I go into Cross Origin. You can still activate his ability, resolve everything except for the retire and force call, but he gains the +1 critical. Because if you notice, at the bottom of this tab, at the bottom of the card, you're going to notice that it says all of this, period, if your opponent, so it's a separate resolution. It's the same effect, but it does not require anything else because it's not if, then, none of that. Not then if, not and, It's just period. If your opponent has 2 or more grade 2s on the field, he gains +1 critical.
Amazing.
So you activate that ability, and you get it. And like I said, if your opponent has grade 2s on the field, you play down Steel Dragon, Charpulent Draco Kid, and you unflip damage. Behind a 12k attacker, it's a 16k column. You unflip 2 damage, you flipped 1 damage to activate him. You play down another one, unflip 2 more, play another 12k attacker. You have 2 16k columns, a 26k Vanguard with a critical, and you're about to go in for a hard hit.
It's amazing.
And then of course, 6 crits, your opponent's going to be seeing criticals a lot. It's a Legion deck, so you're going to be putting everything back. You're going to hit hard, you're going to hit fast. The only flaw to the deck is its mid-game is iffy, because you're going to create that field, you're going to do some damage, but that mid-game, your hand is going to be hurting, so striding is really important in this deck. Even if you just go into Mustafa, you don't activate his ability, you have a Mustafa face up, you activate the next one, you flip that unit, you go in. Or you can flip the Roof Flare. Both of these units do not have a persona flip. All they care about is flipping a unit face up.
Okay.
So if you don't feel like running this at 2, which I'm considering not, you could run it at 1, replace this with a Blizzard. Because everything flips a unit in your G zone, you're gonna hit hard with Blizzard. So if your opponent doesn't have a Perfect Guard and they're sitting at 5, they're gonna drop hand. If they
course.
can. Roof Flare,
Right.
He's a response, he's good, I love him. If only he was a little better in the sense of didn't require a whole column.
Yes.
What you got for me?
All right. So I understand that you play Legion. So I'm a little curious as to why you chose not to play a Madu, if not 2. Well,
Madu?
Probably 1 is just enough. But yeah, I'm curious as to why you don't play a single Madu.
Well, like I said, I need the unflip.
Okay.
Mustafa's ability, for every face-up copy of him, you target one of your units, and on hit, it unflips. Now, I know, on hit, it sucks. But
All that pressure, man.
exactly. Knowing your opponent knowing you don't run an unflip engine, any sort of unflip, they will stop. Especially in a deck that can completely minus them in a turn.
Okay.
Now, of course, if I was running Breakdown Dragon, you'd see an unflip unit that responds to retire. I used to run it. I took it out. I took out every bit of unflip from my grade 1 line, and now I have every space I ever need. I chose the rush pattern because that's our format right now here. At least here in Jacksonville. Of course, where you're at, wherever you may be, it could be different. But the thing you need to worry about is making sure it's tuned to you. Sure, my deck's tough, but I still have trouble here. What I can say is use it as a guideline, get some good ideas, improve on it, and heck, throw it back at me. You can get a hold of me through this guy any day, anytime. He talks to me regularly. If you guys see something you might like to run, let me know. If you guys see something might be interesting, try it. Let us know how it works. Who knows, you might actually come up with a better Perdition build and might find something that might make it to the top. To all the Kagero players out there that have sworn by this deck like I have, thank you. For all of you that stay loyal with Perdition, keep it up. One day we're actually going to get that support we really deserve.
Yes.
Maybe, who knows, we might get lucky and see a Dragonood strike.
Oh, definitely.
Anyway, you guys take it easy. If there's anything else, you by all means ask.
Yes. All right. Oh no, that's pretty much it. Thank you for explaining that. And yep. So there you go, guys. That's my buddy Chris's amazing Perdition deck. I've fought against this a few times in the past, back when I was an Aquaforce player, and it was definitely a pain in the butt to go through. But after seeing so much new support, I always wanted to see how he would take this deck to a whole nother level, because if I knew a Perdition player, I'd always go to this guy. So it's really, really nice to get a nice insight of this deck, all of his personal attacks, and the reasons why.
I do have one more comment to make.
Oh,
now,
okay.
as we remember in the G Series 1 set, GBT01, I'm sorry, we had a Perdition card get released by the name of Perdition Berserker Preda.
Yes.
Now, the card has a few uses if you're interested in running it. The downside, it is a 9k vanilla, relatively speaking. Its effect has no offensive capability, but it does have some defensive and potentially offensive, but its only real use to me is stacking the deck. Perdition Berserker Preda. If your opponent, if you have a Perdition Vanguard and a unit in his column dies by one of your card effects, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a copy of the unit on your Vanguard circle. So with Dragonood, you can discard a copy of him or his mate, retire 2 units in his column, And then you look at the top 10 cards in 2 separate searches of 5 each. Search out a copy of either Perdition Dragon, Vortex Dragonoot, or Perdition Dragon, Whirlwind Dragon, and then send the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order you desire. Now, with certain combinations of this card, you could stack upwards to 40 cards in one turn, searching out 4 or more cards from your deck, thinning the deck effectively, plussing your hand, and stacking your deck in the way you see fit.
So you're making your kagero in the form of OTT.
By doing that, yes, but it's a lot faster and the stack happens in one turn. Doesn't give you much of a chance, doesn't give your opponent a chance to even prepare for it.
That's true.
Though the downside is it does take up grade 2 slots that could be better utilized. It's a great card. If you're running a Breakdown Dragon deck, I highly recommend it because then you can make 2 16k columns, have Breakdown Dragon ready to go, clear the whole field, stack 40 cards, search out copies of Terria of a Breakdown Dragon, preferably Breakdown Dragon so you stride next turn, and you just go off. Your hand set up, your field set up, you're good to go, and once Preda does his job, chances are your opponent's going to see that, realize how dangerous it is, and attack the hell out of it.
Yes.
Well, any Kagero player knows, cards like that, they're best used in the turn they're played. So, they attack it, cool, they just wasted an attack. Try to bait the largest attack with it. That way they kill it and waste all of that effort and time. We've got all sorts of other interesting cards out there. We have a 7k attacking stand trigger. I've played around with that a little bit. With a 4k booster, it's an 11k. I mean, it's great against witches, but there's really no other use for it. So, like I said, lots of techs, lots of interesting little plays. If you guys are interested, shoot them a message. I'll see what I can do for you guys and throw in other designs at you. You guys take it easy, alright?
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. All right, this is Leon Hard out. Peace.